Greetings. We are happy to welcome you on the live broadcast of Breaking News on Watch TV channel.
Watching this episode.
The people of Scene were confronted by an unexpected number of natural disasters in January 2021. Powerful record-breaking snowfalls at first were followed by abnormal frosts, and then at the end of the month the country experienced one storm after another, whilst an increased seismic activity was observed in one of the regions. A Lato TV reporter from Spain will tell you more about it. Yuli, hello.
Hello, this is a Lato TV reporter from Spain. An unprecedented series of storms struck the Iberian Peninsula almost simultaneously. On January the 20th, 2021, Storm Gaetan reached in the southern and northwestern part of Spain. It was accompanied by heavy rains and winds with gusts up to 130 kilometers per hour. 2 days later, Storm Hortensia hit the Pyrenees. Wind speeds in many central areas of Spain exceeded 100 kilometers per hour, resulting in downed trees and damaged buildings. On the same day, storm also brought destructive winds with gusts up to 170 kilometers per hour to the island of Majorca. There were casualties. As a result of the disaster, the buildings' facades were destroyed, cars were damaged, trees and outdoor structures were felled. Many roads were closed because of landslides. On January the 23rd, two earthquakes occurred in the Spanish province of Granada. The magnitude of the strongest one was 4.4. The hypocenter was at a depth of 5 kilometers. In the city of Santa Fe, where the epicenter was located, many homes and buildings were damaged. One casualty was also reported. Residents in many surrounding areas felt the tremors. This seismic event was the strongest in the province in decade. A few hours later, there was a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. In addition, several aftershocks were recorded between the main tremors. Storm Christophe brought record rainfall to a wide swath of Great Britain. And a Lato TV reporter from the UK will tell us about the consequences of the storm. Hello, Vladislav.
Hello, this is Lato TV reporter from Great Britain. From January 19th to 21st, Storm Christophe brought heavy rain. Parts of Cleveland and North Yorkshire received more rain than usual in the entire month. And in Gwynedd, almost 190 millimeters of rain was recorded, while the average monthly norm in Wales for the whole month of January usually does not exceed 160 millimeters. A state of emergency was declared in some of the areas. On January the 21st, residents of Manchester, 2,000 homes and suburbs were evacuated. Due to the copious amount of rain, water levels in many rivers reached dangerously high levels. Flash floods water have flooded the buildings. Heavy snowfall has made the situation even worse. Most mountain roads became impossible because of snow. Lower roads became impossible because of the flooding. Railway and auto transportation system were disrupted. In England, the central part of the city of Norwich, Soon after that, heavy snowfall hit even greater force, affecting parts of England, Scotland, Wales, and the Northern Ireland. Also, on the 21st of January, residents of English County of Hampshire witnessed a rare weather phenomenon, a snowstorm. Thank you so much, and floor goes back to the studio. The heaviest downpour in hundreds of years in Latin City, Australia. Unseasoned natural disasters in Indonesia. Thousands of victims of Storm Louisa from Southeast Africa. Watch more in this episode in this report.
Hello, this is tropical cyclone Eloise hit the cities of Madagascar with wind speed of up to 95 km/h and heavy rains. More than 1,000 people were injured. Unfortunately, there are casualties. Dozens of homes were flooded and destroyed. The storm headed for the coast of Mozambique, where it had been raining for several days. In some areas, up to 300 mm of precipitation, which exceeded twice the monthly figure. On January 23, 2021, the Eloise reached the coast of Southeast Africa with wind speeds up to 160 km/h. Unfortunately, there are casualties. In Mozambique, heavy rains caused widespread flooding. More than 8,000 residents were evacuated. Many homes were destroyed or damaged, and cars were sinking in the streets. Strong winds tore down power lines, knocked down poles and trees. Thousands of hectares of farmland were flooded. At the same time, in Manado, the Indonesian province of North Sulawesi, heavy downpours caused flooding, which led to the death of people. Overflowing rivers overflowed their banks and surged through the streets of the city, carrying cars with them. The depth of flood waters in some places reached up to 4 meters. In just a few minutes, the basements and first floors of the buildings were flooded. Fleeing for their lives, people hurriedly got out on the high ground. Rescue teams stretched cables through the streets and evacuated people by wading, as it was impossible to use watercraft in such conditions. Earlier on January 19, 2021, in the state of Queensland, Australia, heavy rains caused flooding in some areas. In Redland City, precipitation reached about 190 mm, which is the monthly norm of these. 140 mm fell in just 2 hours. Rescuers evacuated drivers who were stuck in floodwaters. Meteorologists noted that this amount of precipitation was the highest in this region in the last 100 years. Thank you.
Just try to picture in your head 185 natural disasters hit Indonesia in just 3 weeks of January 2021. Of those, there were 12 earthquakes with the magnitude greater than 5, over 30 landslides, and 120 floods.
Despite the development of technology, in today's society, people are still vulnerable to powerful manifestations of the natural disasters. And in this context, the question of the value of human life always remains at the top of the list, because it is life that gives meaning to everything around us.
As of today, there is a misunderstanding and underestimation of the extended impact of astronomical processes in their cyclicity and global climate change on Earth, but the facts are really clear. Next in Alatra TV, a reporter from Ukraine will tell you about these consequences in process. Greetings, Dmitry. Greetings to you. This is a Alatra TV reporter from Ukraine. Facts are a stubborn thing. And it is facts that show irreversibility of climate change. Last year, in 2020, a record was set for the Earth's rotation speed. The planet made the fastest rotation around its axis in the history of observation. It is noteworthy that before that the Earth has been steadily slowing down, and by 2017 the rotation has decreased by 4 milliseconds, and the length of the day depends on the speed of Earth's rotation. In 2020, 28 of the shortest astronomical days were recorded. The length of the day is now on average half a second shorter than the 24 hours that we are accustomed to. Half a second may not seem like much to you, but it leads to increasing of the seismic and volcanic activity. It also affects the length of hurricanes and the temperature anomalies on the planet. The year 2020 was the warmest on the planet in the history of observations. Scientists note that the warmest were also the last 6 years, and in general the decade started from 2011 to 2020. In addition, the highest temperature over the past 65 years has been currently recorded in the planet's ocean. Warming of the ocean also contributes to the stronger storms and hurricanes, creating an additional risk of flooding. Last year, a record of number of tropical storms got formed in the ocean, of which 12 reached land, thereby set a new record of their number. In the Arctic itself, for its parts, rapidly loses its ice. Lagos in the recent years has increasingly recorded flowering plants, and melting permafrost is rapidly flowing into the ocean chain. An enormously huge ozone hole in Antarctica closed unexpectedly quickly in the end of December, while it has been growing rapidly from mid-August and peaked in September 20th, covering most of Antarctica. In the last 40 years of ozone monitoring, this hole was one of the deepest and existed for the longest of time.
Nowadays, there is a stable opinion that ozone holes are formed as a result of human activity. But, for example, Doctor of Geological and Mineralogical Sciences Vladimir Leonidovich Sivorotkin believes that the reason of formation of ozone holes is in degassing of hydrogen and other gases from the depths of the Earth. Let us watch an excerpt of his interview for Latra TV.
I do agree that we do live in the era of climate change. And I just want to emphasize how this change is expressed from my point of view. In the increasing contrast of weather anomalies, every map of the ozone layer, especially the anomalies, it maps the degassing of the planet. So that is like the hydrogen is destroying the ozone layer, for example, here. And then gradually, life has led to the fact that by studying on ozone maps, those ozone holes, because for geologists, these maps of the ozone layer, where the ozone anomalies appear, in our own interpretation, the ozone anomalies are places where hydrogen comes out. So does the human factor really affect the climate processes we see today? Of course not. There is already too much information that disapproves of this theory.
By focusing on the anthropogenic factor, the cause of climate disasters, humanity is losing the precious time for real actions that need to be taken today. Let us watch an excerpt from the video with Igor Mikhailovich Danilov.
By the way, there is a very interesting observation regarding the flood. Now we see that a serious problem with water begins. In some places it is rising, while in other places it is decreasing.
In huge amounts which people cannot cope with, and where it is decreasing, there is already a disastrous shortage
of
resources. That is not.
Of course, and here's another phenomenon that has been observed lately for the last decade. We didn't demonstrate it in the video. Well, you've seen the video, it is about something different. But the phenomenon is very serious, which they try to justify in every possible way. That our globe began to increase in size. And there are various attempts to explain this. They say that the axis is changing a little bit, and the elliptic shape of our planet is sort of shifting, and it is becoming a sphere. Guys, we also studied at school for a while, we understand, so there is an ellipse. If it becomes a sphere, it means that the upper and the lower points should get closer. The question is, why do the upper and the lower points not get closer? But excuse me, the ellipse expands at the equator. Such a small point, just to ponder about the processes that take place inside our planet. And these processes tend to go outside and we observe it. In a very short period when we had an average earthquake of 2.53 points. 3. It is mainly 2.5. What is the average magnitude according to observations today? It is about 5.5, right?
5.5, already 6. It is growing. It's often 6 already.
Well, 6. It already reaches up to 6, yes. So look, a very short period of time. And progression is huge. Therefore, global warming is not the worst thing. The fact that it gets warmer on a certain part of the land, let's say, it will be impossible to live on it, while the other part will be more favorable for living. Still, everything repeats itself, and it all took place. Only it ends badly for everyone who, let's put it so, cannot breathe underwater. So we have two options left. Either to grow gills or to build a creative society. It's up to you, my friends. Everyone chooses what they like.
By looking at the cataclysms taking place and their increasing force and frequency, one comes to realize that life in such a world of chaos is really fragile.
But we do have a chance to overcome the effects of global climate change, and that chance is in building the creative society that is focused on the most important value on Earth, the life of every human being. It happened already that on December the 20th, 2020, millions of people united to voice the global problems of humanity and the ways to solve them.
Volcanic activity on the planet has been steadily increasing over the last decade. 43 volcanoes are erupting right now, while the norm is 36. Glaciers are melting all over the world. And do you know that the western part of Antarctica is melting the most, while the eastern part does not melt at all? Have you heard about it on TV? And do you know another thing? Western Antarctica is melting from the bottom up, because the magma chamber beneath it increases the heat flow. Therefore, it is melting from the bottom upwards.
Who is our true enemy? People or system? Let's talk about how your silence depriving all kids of the future. And how much money is being spent right now on media to brainwash us, to think and to cover up those murders, and to separate us. Yet, we cannot solve a simple problem, such as hunger. Yet, we cannot put a food on everybody's plate. How is it possible? In the creative society, a human life is the main value. There will be no hunger.
Let's talk about the perspectives for the future of humanity that all people are looking for, and simple steps towards achieving it. Because everyone wants prosperous and safe world for themselves and their kids, but do not know what to do.
So the first stage of building the creative society is the informational stage. Globally, people need to know about the creative society. This is the most important stage. When each person understands what creative society is and supports it, then they can go on the platform allatraunites.com Click the Join Us button and pick one of the 3 options to register.